I think that this is an award-winning show that couldn't be more relevant right now in society and for television and how it's being broadcast. We're getting a lot of news with this new Top Boy, new faces, a new executive producer, a new length, and of course, a brand new home. So I'm going to introduce the panel for you. We've got the creator and executive producer, Ronan Bennett. I guess we can call you an OG. Kane Robinson's back. I'm going to introduce her, little Simz. Not everyone who wants to be a top boy is a boy. I think that's fair. Little Simz is a new face. And I'm just going to say Micheal Ward. New face Micheal Ward joins. And the exec producer, Charles Steele, is here with us. So we've got lots of questions to buzz through. I'm going to start with Ronan. Ronan, Top Boy ended in 2013. What's happened and how did we get to where we got to now?
So we had 2 seasons on Channel 4 in 2011 and 2013, 4 episodes each. We were gearing up for a 3rd season, but it was suddenly cancelled. And, you know, as a writer, you get disappointed about these things, but you shrug and you move on. And which is what we did. Charles and I, who were partners from the start on this, were, you know, very upset about it. We really, you know, we couldn't understand the decision, but you have to continue. And then 2-3 years later, Charles called me one day and he said, well, there's Drake. Who, and I, you know, it's embarrassing. I didn't know who he was. Drake is interested. Loved the show. He really loved it. He loves it, and he wants to, you know, he wants to talk. And you know, there's a lot of talk in the entertainment industry, and you know, most of it never goes anywhere. So I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. But a little later, Charles and I and our partner Ali Flynn met Drake in London, and his interest was genuine and he was passionate about the show. I'd Googled him since then, and in the form of asking my children who he was, and I appeared very uncool in front of them, not knowing. And that was it. And really, Drake kind of got us, with that conversation led to a conversation with Netflix, and everything went really smoothly since then.
So you, Charles and Kane, original cast, original crew. How does it feel to come back?
It feels good, man. It's like I can probably speak for me and Ashley. You know, ever since the show was no longer. You crack on with your life. But I guess unlike Ronan, me and Ashley would just be seen on a daily basis and just bugged and bothered, and it just got to the point where it's like, oh my God, these people are never going to forget about this show. They're never going to forgive us if we don't do this ever again. And it's a weird thing. I thought it would have, you know, died down after a few years, and it's like, I don't know, just the want for it just grew every single year. You know, so when me and Ashley first heard about it, again, it was something that we didn't really, you know, believe was going to happen. And when we realized the talks were kind of serious, and you know, we was excited and, you know, keen to get, you know, stuck in again, but really, you know, we wanted to make sure that the show was going to be made with the, you know, the same, you know, same intent and, you know, kind of by the same people. I was hearing a lot of talk about, you know, a wider market and whatever, but we was really conscious about not trying to make a show to purposely try and appeal to a wider market, just stay as true as possible, because I think that's what permeates, and that kind of truth and that genuineness is really why the world kind of ended up loving Top Boy. So, you know, we just wanted to stay true, but we were so excited to, you know, hear what Ronan had written and get stuck into scripts and things like that.
So authenticity, I think, is one of the big fears that the fans have had, because they hear Drake, They know America, Canada, they hear Netflix, they think it's going to go elsewhere. We'll come back to that in a second. Little Simz and Micheal, two new faces. How did it feel to be asked to be part of something so authentic and raw?
Well, we were speaking about this when we've been doing other bits, but like, I remember going into school and it was this Top Boy, that was the topic of discussion. That's what everyone was talking about. It was like, you go in, and it's like, oh, did you watch the last night's episode or whatever it was? So like, I guess we grew up with knowing how important this show was and how we just felt like there was finally something on television that represented us and our story. So for me, getting that call was like a blessing to contribute and to be a part of it. And we're telling the stories of real people, you know.
Yeah. For me, I was just a big fan from day, really. Like, I'll never be shy about saying that. And also I tweeted like in 2013, I can't wait for it. It's just something that we all loved, literally. And when it happened, I just couldn't believe it. And then when I was filming it, it just felt surreal. Actually seeing people like Kane on set and Ash, it was just weird. It just didn't feel real. Even now, like, it just doesn't feel real. But yeah, man, about to see.
Because Simz, you came in thanks to Kane.
Yeah.
Tell us how that happened.
Yeah.
Maybe just find out.
I mean, you want to tell us, sorry?
Ronan can probably.
Well,
We met.
well, you want to. You know, Kane came round to the house just as we were kind of, you know, thinking about the new season and planning the storylines and characters and, you know, where were they going to be 6-7 years on. And Kane said to me, you know, there's this singer, little Simz, who of course I had heard
Sure,
of.
I didn't say singer.
What did you say?
Yeah, probably.
Performer, rapper?
Rapper.
Anyway. I'm really sorry. Okay. And he just said, look, you got to see her. She's great. And we did. And that was it.
And it's crazy because I even remember like going in to play Kane, my new album. And by this time I auditioned and stuff, and I said to him, like, I'm really nervous. Like, I don't know if it's my hand. And he knew, like, I'd had it, but he was like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I was told not to tell you, but but Ali did phone me and he said, like, Simz just smashed it and smashed the audition to the point. I think they offered her a different role to what, you know, they initially was thinking about, you know, a bigger role, and her character just like grew from there due to her talent, you know what I mean?
And it is an interesting dynamic. I've been lucky enough to see the first 4 episodes. I can't say anything. I've signed an NDA, but it is a really interesting dynamic. We're going to switch gears slightly because we want to talk about the authenticity, because this kind of show is so real. It's been in the news of late. Kane, for you, as a returning cast member, how do you feel that the story plays out to what is actually going on in the streets?
Yeah, I think Top Boy's always been good at touching on, you know, the current day situation and climate and you know, representing a community that's kind of, you know, may feel like they're unheard. Yeah, so it's always like great when I read things and I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on, or I can't say certain things right now. But yeah, certain things that happen in the script that we know is going on out there in the streets today. It just makes Top Boy just different to the other shows out there. And when we speak to people of the community and they, you know, they respect what we've done and they appreciate the truth that we're telling. And no one's like, nah, man, that was fake and it weren't that, you know what I mean? It's like all love, like everyone you speak to. It's just like, no, you represented well. To us as actors, like, that is what it's about, you know what I mean? we're just trying to tell truth. At the end of the day, Top Boy is a show. It is for entertainment, but it's rooted in reality, you know? And that's what we just try and do all the time. And I believe we've done it again.
Because the writing is immense. Like, the conversation, the chat that the characters have is so street. It is just so immense. How did you find that? How difficult was that to get right?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, the thing is, obviously, that's not my world. But you know, as writers, you listen and you hear the way people speak and so on. But Top Boy has a kind of process for the dialogue, which is I do my first stab at it. I make mistakes, and street language changes. Like in the last season, everybody was talking about paper. People were making paper.
Yeah, peas.
Peas. No, it's peas. So you know. So okay, I thought I was really being street and cool and calling it paper, and they're saying no, it's not paper anymore. So, or even the word chat, you know, that people will say, I'll chat to him, and you know. In a way that is for me, the verb chat is kind of much more, you know, it's a casual thing, and you know, you chat or whatever, but it has a different meaning on the road. So you have to kind of change. So I do my version of it as best I can. Then I show it to a couple of people from that world, and they go through it with me and improve. And then the final part of the process, well, there's also the read-through and rehearsals and so on, but the final part is the actors themselves, because this isn't... it isn't Pinter, you know, it isn't like, it's not like that. They will, as long as it conveys what we want it to convey in the same register and with the nuance that's in the script, then they will put their own spin on it. And that way everything kind of sort of works.
So we've got a clip that we can show you of what we're trying to talk about when it comes to keeping everything authentic in Top Boy. So Kane and Simz and Micheal, you guys are the cast members. I don't know if people know that there was a 50-50 split. So basically, you are the professionals, but they actually got what I would call randoms from the street to act with you guys. To act with you guys, as in people that are not professionally trained, to make the show more authentic. How did it feel working with people like that?
For me, obviously, like, I haven't trained as well, so I came in of doing just like one show, and it was weird to see that when you're acting with these people, some of them are literally just there to be a part of Top Boy. Some actually want to go further with acting. So when people that just came in to just be a part of Top Boy, they were really, really, really dedicated to it as well as everyone else. So like it was a good thing to be a part of, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like that kind of ethos, again, is something quite unique to Top Boy, and on screen it just you know, comes across so well. I've been a part of like so many scenes where, like I've in the first season I've like acted with like one of my mates, and he wasn't an actor, and he said way more lines than was written. but he just brought an energy.
He's an actor already.
Yeah. He just brought an energy to it that a trained actor just wouldn't, you know what I mean? And said things in a way that you just can't learn, you know? And I think that's the beauty. And, you know, and you encourage that, and some of it gets used and some of it doesn't, but I'm sure, you know, the directors love that at times, because there's some gold that comes out of those moments, you know.
It felt more real.
Yeah.
And is it important for you guys to have the ability to say things the way you would say it in real life?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's massively important, probably for all of us, because yeah, you don't want to, you know, you don't just want to turn up every day and freestyle, you know what I mean? The show is written and you want to stick to the scene, but you don't want to put everything into your own words, but if something doesn't feel right, and you know that, you know, I'm for one always on set, like encouraging some of the younger kids to you know, and I might not even know what they might be saying, you know what I mean? But look, if that word don't feel right to you, then, you know, say a different one. The director will be cool with it, have a discussion, and see how it goes. It don't need to be some show of like all slang to where the general public can't understand, but if something really feels wrong, change it. And it takes that kind of encouragement that I feel the directors give to especially the new cast and the younger cast, because you know, you can come in robotic and feel like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't say these lines. But I think one of the other important things that we do is we workshop it as well. So before we step onto set, you know, we get into a space where we're working out the scenes together. And a lot of that, you know, gets kind of weaved out there.
Fantastic. Now, Charles, I know that one big fear of a lot of the fans is that it's gone to Netflix and Drake's got involved, the authenticity, the grit would have gone. Has it?
No. But you're right. I mean, as Ronan described, kind of, it felt like almost the opportunity presented itself. We always wanted to make a third series, always wanted it to be a long-running series. You know, the intention was to move into 8 parts for series 3, which didn't happen. So there was always a desire to do it, but it was the timing, the Drake, and other factors that suddenly presented that, you know, there was an opportunity. And I remember sitting with Ronan and we had a chat, and, you know, coming back 5 years later from something we loved, and there have been a lot of people who tried to kind of talk about remaking America, resetting it, and we felt very protective of it. We all loved it, and, you know, very proud of what we'd done. And coming back to it, there was a lot of concern for ourselves about, can we, you know, is it the right thing to do creatively? But we thought it was and jumped in, and I think we've achieved it. Yeah, I think it's different from before in the sense of storytelling. Before, we're both, you know, small. They were 4-parters, so they were almost like kind of mini films cut into 4. This is storytelling over 10 hours. It's a different form. But in terms of people, I think, who enjoyed Top Boy before, I think they're going to love this, you know, and yeah.
So it's bigger, it's better, but it's staying effectively the same.
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. So we've got another clip that we can use, we can show you to highlight this. Don't worry, we're going to show you a bit more because I know that was a good one. So Netflix coming into the landscape of TV has definitely changed the game in terms of who can make what and how and for how long. One of the things that has been really important to Top Boy that I think is lacking in a lot of the TV media space is diversity and being honest to the diverse truth, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera. Because Charles and Ronan, you guys were insistent on a specific mentorship to try and get more people from diverse backgrounds, particularly behind the camera, but to make sure that they progress through the industry. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, particularly around, I mean, we've got a number of mentorship schemes. There's one in particular around the directors. You know, the show has got 4 directors, and given the subject matter and the world, we felt it was really important that some of those directors, if not all those directors, are coming from, you know, diverse backgrounds. And we found 2 fantastic directors who were brought in from America in particular, and they did a brilliant job, you know, Ronaldo Marcus Green and Nia DaCosta. But it did feel to us like, you know, there was something about having to go to the States to find a talent when, you know, this is a British show and we should be able to find it here, and there was a real lackey of talent. So we set up a scheme where 4 young directors, all from diverse backgrounds, mentored each of the 4 directors who were directing. And it's still a kind of, it's a mentorship scheme in process, in the sense that the ambition is one or all of those directors may go on and direct an episode in the next series, you know, assuming that's commissioned and all the rest. And they are, you know, at fantastic level, brilliant directors, and yeah, so, and that, we started that, and that's extended into other departments as well. But yeah, it's part of the scheme we'll be doing.
So Ronan, can you tell us some of the other departments it's extended into?
Well, apart from, I mean, I'm the writer, so I can tell you the writer. So we have a new guy in the writing team who's, you know, from that world, and he's helping a lot in this, you know, with dialogue and so on. But Charles is probably the man to talk about the other.
I mean, design across the board, costume design, accounts, writing. But I mean, the directing scheme is the real flagship one, I think, at the moment that we're driving. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So anyway. Yeah.
So, and for you guys, it was so important to make sure that when it comes to making a program like this, you have the kind of team that can make it without having to hunt out across the pond to get them.
Yes, yeah. So that's...
Okay, so now we're going to talk to little Simz, because you are one of the new faces, and I know that you can't really say that much, which is a bit sad about your character. But can you give us an overall flavour of who she is and what she's about?
Yeah, so I play Shelley, and she is essentially, can I say the love interest?
You just did.
Didn't say of who.
A potential but Shelley's, I guess she adds a new, I guess she gives a particular character a new found hope, allows character to dream and visualize, and a lot of the characters in the show are very like tunnel vision and stuck in one way of doing things. I think life is about that. And I think Shelley's introduces like a new way of, I don't know, dreaming. And that's essentially what her character represents.
And Michael, for you, can I say family about your character?
Yeah, I guess you can. You can say a lot of things about Jamie, because Jamie is obviously out here in these streets trying to make stuff happen. And also he's got his brothers at home who he has to be father, mother, and older brother to. And it's obviously showing how he has to provide for them and the journey and the struggles he has to go through, as well as relationships that he creates throughout the show with like a lot of the other characters. So yeah, Jamie's a very, very interesting character.
Because with this new home, we get to explore a different side of people within the show.
I feel like that's because it's a lot longer,
Yeah.
so you can sit with their lives. So it creates that element where you can follow Jamie through all of these things, because it's 10 episodes, whereas 4, you wouldn't be able to see certain sides to him that you do now. And obviously, that is real life. People in the other ones, you didn't really get to see that much. And obviously, yeah, that's what I have to say.
So Top Boy is a fantastic programme, but are you guys ever concerned that it may be reinforcing stereotypes of the black community?
No. Because I feel like it is real life, and we're not justifying or glorifying anything. We're just literally shining a light on what is out there. And if you don't know about these things, then how can you help change it?
Well said.
Fantastic. So, in today's current climate, what do you think that Top Boy represents?
Top Boy can represent. Well, for me and my character, what I learned through Jamie is that no matter what, everyone is really trying to be at the top. And if you're not, then what are you really doing? Like if you're not trying to be at the top of your game, then what are you actually really doing? And Jamie opened it up for me. So that is basically what it is.
Ambition.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel, Top Boy represents, ambition on screen and off screen as well, because, I think it gives a lot of opportunity to actors, current actors and new actors, and represents truth and represents a community that, isn't always heard, Top Boy represents a lot, man. But
I mean, for me, writers, writers don't just write. You watch, you listen, you hear things, you learn things. You live in a community, you look at that community, and you see, there's great stuff, fantastic stuff, but there's also difficult stuff too. And, I've said this before, but London is so cheek by jowl. You know, you can have a really nice street and you turn the corner and you're somewhere that is deprived. I mean, it is clearly run down. It is impoverished. And those two worlds are living right side by side with each other. And that was what first, you know, got my attention, was seeing in a supermarket, you know, a couple of 100 meters from my house one day, just seeing a kid, 10, 12, whatever, selling drugs. And it was a school day and all the other kids were going to school and so on, and he wasn't there, he was serving. And people would come up, money would change hands, he'd drop something on the ground, go off again. Sometimes a bicycle would come, you know, what you're watching on your doorstep is a kid who needs help. I mean, that kid needs help. And then you kind of look into it a bit more, and then you go, wait a minute, this isn't just about one kid, this is about a community. And why is that? And the kind of question that Top Boy asks, but you know, listen, I'm an intensely political person, but this is drama, this is entertainment. You have to do it within a story. It has to be, you know, it has to grab people. You can't deliver lectures. But the more I kind of asked around and talked to these kids, you just saw how widespread it was. And actually, this is a community that's in trouble. It's a community that is overlooked. You have to ask, why are people doing this? And Top Boy does that. You know, it's about, we see it in Jamie's case. We see the character played by Michael. We see it in the other cases too. Some of it is just ambition and it is crime. Others, it is, what else have we got? You know, we are shut out. We are despised. You know, people, you know, we are excluded. So we're going to make our own way in the world, and they do it. And the value system with which they do that is messed up badly. But you can't blame them for having a value system. You can't blame people who have been locked out of a world, you know, that most of us have access to on one level. You can't blame them for then saying, okay, you're locking me out, I'm going to make my own world. And my own world will have its own rules. And I'm going to do this and basically fuck you. So for me, you know, it's Top Boy, I would absolutely say there's no way that it is glamorizing or stereotyping or any of that, but it is taking you into the heart of a world, and it's saying to you, here it is, and if you look carefully and you listen, you'll understand why this is happening.
Yeah.
Mm.
Fantastic. And on that note, I guess we'll have our final clip so you guys can see the new series of Top Boy. We've had some questions in from the crowd that we want to throw out, and then we might get to another clip if we can. One question that I think people want to know is, how involved is Drake? Is Drake going to appear on the streets of the Summer House estate?
Look, there's one part we walk. It's not me. We walk across the road one day. He's busking, rapping. We throw some change in his hat, and then we keep it moving. That's his only involvement. That's it.
No, but for real, because people are going to believe that. That's going to go.
I guess, I don't know, I guess Drake's an executive producer, so maybe it's a question more for the execs, but just on my part, I know, obviously we met Drake at the beginning, when we was discussing it, or when the Netflix deal came about, you know, me and Ashley and him, we sat down and spoke, and he was just like, look, and by the way, Drake's not silly, like he's aware of the talk, you know what I mean? That kind of, you know, stuff going on, culture, jumping on the hype and all this, whatever. He's like, look, I'm a fan of the show. I just wanted to, you know, see if there was any way I could help to bring this back, you know? And that's why I'm in the room. But you guys need to create the show just the way you did, the same reason, you know, that I ended up loving it. And I guess if you know, we need him. He's there, you know, in terms of the show is finished, maybe some promotional kind of things and whatnot. But yeah, influential in acquiring the Netflix deal, as I hear. And that's about it. It's not on a day-to-day level like Drake's on set trying to tell us how to say and whatnot. You know what I mean? He's just supporting us, I guess, from, you know, behind the scenes. And yeah, it's just a good energy. He came to the read-through.
Yeah, for me, when he came to the
everyone was
read-through,
excited to see. You know what I mean?
It made it like real for me to be able to see someone of that like caliber there, and yeah, along with everyone else, it just secured it down for me. It made
dropping the trailer, just helping it
Yeah.
get to you know, more people than we reached before.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, he's there as a real support.
So Ronan and Charles, what is the editorial difference between going from Channel 4 to Netflix? Was there any big change in how much control you had?
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, going to Netflix, I mean, as I said, the form is different, telling it over 10 hours, which is always the ambition for Ronan from the start, to be able to tell there's so many stories and intertwining ensemble characters. In terms of the process, no, Netflix has been great, actually. I think, listen, it helped by the fact that we had a successful show before, that tone was there, it was a core team retaining it, and just speaking to what, you know, Kane was saying, you know, from Drake's point of view, the first thing he ever said when we started talking about it is, you know, I can be the gasoline to your fire. You know, you guys know what you're doing. My job is to help spread that word. You know, that's kind of the role. And so Netflix as well, in terms of, you know, we've established this show, we've got the same people involved, same team, whether it's casting directors, you know, producers, writers, lead cast, it's, you know, the core is there. So get on and do it. So from that point of view, really supportive. Yeah.
And is there a hope for an American version? Because that's another rumour that's doing the rounds.
No.
Okay, we can all breathe a sigh of relief.
I mean, the thing, just to echo what Kane said, you know, when we sat down with Drake, he wasn't coming in and saying, you know, it could be this or it could be that or anything. It wasn't like that at all. He just said, I think they were on tour, and one of his guys had come into the hotel room and said, you've got to see this, you'll love it. He watched it. He couldn't understand why it had been cancelled. Then when he met us, it was clear. All he said to me was, when we were there, all he said was, I just want to make this happen. You know, that was it. And he did the bulk of the pitch to Netflix and was just passionate about it. And nobody at Netflix, nobody in Drake's team, nobody said anything other than just go on and do what you did before. That was it. You know, so there was no, you know, there was, as Charles says, there was no particular difference between, you know, Channel 4, Netflix in that sense. They both, you know, trusted us to get on with it, and we did.
And you have indeed. Were there any actors that were in the first two series that you'd like to come back but couldn't?
I don't think so. I mean, we you know, what you think about is you're 6 years on, and you know, where are those characters going to be 6 years on, and we wanted to get some new faces in as well. So no, we pretty got everybody that we wanted to come back. Yeah.
But with a new home comes hopefully a bigger budget. Did you go elsewhere?
So again, in terms of
New home, more money.
a little bit, you know, still, the DNA is the same as the show. Yeah. I mean, listen, the cost of making television drama per hour, as I'm sure anyone in this room knows, from 7-8 years ago to what it is now has changed drastically. So even just to pull off Top Boy at the same level, you couldn't quite do what we did before. So it's, you know, incrementally, but it's not suddenly changed and becomes a different show. We did, in terms of production values and internationally, which I think is what you are referring to in some of our shooting locations. You know, we shot some of the episode in Jamaica, but in fairness, that was always going to be the case, you know, with Channel 4 as well, when we were going to do a third series. So, you know, again, I don't think it's changed. I mean, there is a little more money, but it's about kind of just keeping, you know, the rise of making television now. Yeah.
Are those people from the world who were consulted on dialogue given credit?
Some of them are, but you know, if somebody, so I wrote in one scene, there's a lot of books in this room, and the kid goes, I wouldn't say it like that. And he said, he goes, there's bear books in this. And now the person who suggests that, I don't know if it's the kid or somebody else, but you can't credit everybody. But we have a deal with a couple of people.
Yeah, they're all part of the team. We have a fantastic, Jerry is your
Jerry does that, and he did I wrote the Jamaican dialogue in Patois on the page, and obviously I couldn't do that. But Jerry, who's Jamaican heritage and goes out there a lot, just sat down with me, and we wrote it in Patois. So, but he's credited.
Yeah, he's credited. He's at the read-throughs. He's, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's,
very much involved.
We all know that, and we all appreciate Jerry's involvement. Yeah.
Another question that we've had is, do you think it's irresponsible to depict scenes of violence and drug dealing in the current climate?
No.
I don't believe it's irresponsible, no, not at all. As I probably said 100 times today, I think art, and I come from music background, and in my music, my art is always about telling truth and talking about situations that go on, and art should never be censored, to tell either a rapper not to talk about crime that's going on in your ends is ridiculous, and to tell a TV show to not depict crime on our TV screens that is really happening is also ridiculous. So I don't think it's irresponsible. I think you can shoot it in a way that becomes irresponsible, But I remember having, I don't know much I could say. I remember having an interesting conversation with Brady, who's one of the directors. He directed like the third block of Top Boy, which is probably 5 and 6, maybe? Six and seven. And there was one particular attack, I won't say which type of attack, but he spoke about he didn't want to film this attack and then have the camera follow the people that done it, celebrating, He felt a responsibility to film the attack and then stay with the victim so we can see what this kind of weapon does to a person's body, And the way he spoke just really let me know that I was in the right hands, Because as a grown up, now getting older, I do think about the imagery that I put out, both on a musical level and in acting as well. And part of me coming back to Top Boy, I was really not concerned, but I was interested to see where my character went, and I definitely wanted to humanize my character and have present a more rounded human being. And I think with the 10 episodes, we're allowed to do that. So with Sully, you get to see why he does what he does. You get to see him love, you get to see him lose, you get to see, the consequences. And before, we didn't really have enough time to do that to its full extent. But I'm really proud that I got to do that this time, because I am conscious about that imagery. But as I say, you can do it in the right way, and I feel like Top Boy does it in that right way.
Yeah.
Lil Simz, Michael? Are you just in agreement?
Yeah, literally. Same thing what Kane said, especially when it comes to music as well. It's real life, it's what we see every day, it's what we experience. So to shy away from that, I think doesn't make any sense. It is ridiculous. So it's important that we show it, and exactly what he said, to do it in the right way.
Yeah, it's just not irresponsible, because you actually see families breaking down and stuff like that. And if you think families breaking down and showing all of that aspect to it, is like you're showing people real life, and these things actually do happen. So no, we're not irresponsible for doing so.
Because I've been lucky enough to see the first 4 episodes, and I would agree with you that you get to see, and forgive me for this, but the softer side of people, as well as why they do what they do, which I don't think was, because of time, able to see in the last season. Yeah. Is that important? Is that an important part of the tale to tell?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe it's massively important. But I was going to ask see, in terms of you and being like obviously a woman, and in this kind of world, like what do you feel like you kind of represent for, other young women out there in a show amongst all of this kind of aggressiveness?
I guess like, man, my character's obviously grown up in ends around these people, and I've in my real life I've done that as well. And even like someone like my character, I know someone exactly like her in real life. So it's for me having to channel that person and making sure I get it right, because this is someone's story I'm telling. And
you speak to that person?
Yeah, for sure. That has
I
mirrors like the character exactly. So that's who I'm representing. So it's got to be done properly.
Yeah.
And did you find it easy to slot into this world? Because I don't think the female representation of this world has ever really been shown before.
Yeah, no, I did. And I think as well, working with, Ashley and having loads of conversations with him, and I know we done rehearsals and chemistry reads, and getting to know more about how he feels in terms of the softer side of his character, because he's always seen as like just saying this top boy, and just I guess essentially breaking his character down helped.
Brilliant. We'll go back to the questions from the audience. So, tough question, but in a white industry, how hard is it to get a show like Top Boy commissioned?
Well, I don't
Like
know. Listen, when Channel 4 made this show, it felt, there were, that's a brave decision, but no, it felt like Channel 4 were doing what Channel 4 did and doing what nobody else did, which was a predominantly black show, a kind of urban gang show, as it was labelled. To make that, it's much more than that, but and I think that was the thing, when Channel 4 didn't go forward with a third series, there was nobody else that would touch that. Cut to 6 years later, it's a completely different, climate now, and there were, I think, many people who would jump at the opportunity to have made Top Boy again. Many companies, they were chasing us, but I think Netflix was our favourite choice, and felt like that the power and global reach they had, and the fact that the show they bought Top Boy, the first two, it had been on in America, it started to build a fan base, it just felt right. But yeah, much easier now than it was then, totally different.
And just I'll touch on something that you spoke about earlier, about black representation and black directors, women directors. I've only ever done Top Boy, really, so I only know, that's all I know. I walk on set and I see, a diverse crew around me, but Ashley always lets me know that's not how it always is. Mm-hmm. Like, this is Lucky, He's been working for years on film sets, and he, it's never like this. So he's like, I'm very proud to be a part of that set, but he's always like, trust me, this is the only job. And Neil said the same thing again. This is the only job you kind of ever do that looks like this. So, something to be proud of. And,
It's very unusual makeup behind the camera. As well as in front of the camera as well, but behind the camera across the board. Walking on the set, particularly this series, fantastic Yvonne, our series producer, driving that, putting together such a, eclectic crew. It was great. It was wonderful to be on set. It was really different. I've been on a lot of sets, felt very different. And part of that all feeds into, as well as wanting to do it, and it feels the climate and this and that. Listen, you talk about authenticity, and I guess as a producer and for Ronan and I, kind of gauging and bringing back this show and not losing it, and it kind of becoming something different and falling into an American splodge. All of the decisions about this, about the people involved, and that's the bits that we can do to try and push it in that direction, and then leave it for those people to kind of deliver that. That's all, yeah.
And on that note, I'm sorry to say it's the end of our session, but before you go, we do have a little bit extra, but I'd just like to thank the panel, Charles, Micheal, Little Simz, Kane and Ronan for joining us.